I think the percentages here from Luke 17 are correct. I think only 1 out of 10 are built in a way to automatically show gratitude. And that's sad. Only 1 out of 10 of us is built in a way that part of their makeup, part of themselves that's embedded in their DNA, that spiritual self, that part responds and acts towards the world with gratitude. This means the majority of us, 9 out of 10, have some learning to do. We don't lead with gratitude. We lead with something else, something less pure. We're the people who are more likely to get upset when we don't get our way. And I think I'm part of this group. I'm quite comfortable with my position in life. I've come to expect the world to act and revolve around me and my needs in certain ways. Most of us live this way, which can cause us to become bitter or to live complacently or be jaded when things don't go our way, or even worse, entitled. And if we're not mindful of this, then we slip even further and become part of that group that's always easily offended. You've met those people. You've probably even been one of those people at times. The people who see everything as an offense to our way of being or understanding. Everything becomes triggers for these people. These kinds of people struggle, truly struggle, to see the world through a lens of gratitude. As you know, over this period of COVID-19, we've had several church members die. One was Susan Dillow, a remarkable human being. There are so many memories, so many stories and interactions I've had with her, and stories I've heard from you about her. If we boiled those down, what we'd see is that she lived like the 1 out of the 10. The very week she passed away, she was still buying gifts to be delivered to people from her. She was thinking of others as she was approaching death. She lived out of grace. Which, by the way, in Greek, the word for grace is gratia, which is also the root word for grateful or gratitude. To live gratuitously is to live gratefully or with grace. Susan Dillow is the perfect picture and example of this. To have battled cancer for as long as she did, to have physically suffered for as long as she did, she always managed to carry herself with grace. If I could just be a blessing to one person, Barrett, this cancer would have been worth it. That's what she'd say. What she may never have let herself realize is she was a blessing to thousands upon thousands. If she ever was easily offended, she didn't let anyone know it. She bared the capacity to respond to the world and act in the world with grace. And there are others like her, but they are the exception to the rule. They're the 1s out of the 10s, and the other 9s just don't have it in them what is so easily and readily available in people like Susan. There's just something special about these individuals. It's like they were sent by God to remind us and show us and shine for us a better way to live. The truth is, they handle liminal space better than any of us, and we can learn from them. This summer, we're exploring stories where characters are thrust into liminal space, and we're watching how they respond. And we're trying to glean from them so we can better prepare our souls as we navigate our own liminal space. And what we mean by liminal space is important. Liminality is the in-between, a threshold crossing. We're leaving one world but haven't fully entered into another yet. We're caught in the in-between, and this can be difficult. What we're seeing in the world with riots and race is liminal space. One world is dying away, but we aren't fully conscious of what we're stepping into. We're in the in-between. The coronavirus is liminal space. It's forced our daily and weekly rhythms to change. It's not going to stay like this forever, but we don't know how long we're here. We're in the in-between. Schools are wrestling with what exactly to do to keep our families safe. They have to do something, but it won't be what everyone everywhere wants. They're in the in-between. Seeing ourselves in this liminal space is very important. It allows us to shed one world and transition into another. And if we're mindful enough, if our souls are prepared enough, we can step forward into this unknown with faith. And what I think we need to see today is that if we're going to step forward in faith, to move through the darkness of liminality, to move through the confusion of the unknown and the rapid change of emotions, then we better have in our toolkit gratitude. We had a church member in the last year lose their father to death. He was a great man, lived a long life, did amazingly good things for others, and was a staple presence of love and for the family and our community. For all intents and purposes, he was a life easily celebrated. But that still causes hurt for the daughter. There's still grief in letting go of someone you love. In the wake of the death, I felt compelled by the Spirit to share sentiments that I had learned along the way. I told her that which helps heal the ground of a broken heart is gratitude. Remembering to be grateful for the role she got to play in her father's life and to be grateful for the role that he played in hers as dad. Gratitude reframes pain for us. It reauthors our grief and moves us towards healing. Weeks after the funeral, she came to my office to tell me I was right. I quickly told her it wasn't me. It was knowledge that I had gleaned along the way. Gratitude leads us through our pain and moves us towards healing. In Luke 17, there's a real connection between gratitude and healing. Hear the story again. On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus was going through the region between Samaria and Galilee. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him, keeping their distance. They called out, saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." When he saw them, he said to them, "Go and show yourself to the priests." As they went, they were made clean. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healing, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus asked, "Were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Get up, go your own way. Your faith has made you well." There's a lot packed into this small story, but the kicker is verse 19. Then he said to him, "Get up, go your own way. Your faith has made you well." Another way to translate this is, your faith has healed you, or your faith has saved you. Salvation and healing come from the same root word. You could say gratitude points us and leads us to salvation. Or you could say gratitude points us and leads us towards wholeness. We live a more holy life, and I mean that in both ways it can be spelled, W-H-O-L-L-Y and H-O-L-Y. We are more complete when we live out of our inner worlds of gratitude. But Diana Butler Bass rightfully warns us here. We have to make sure we're living with the right kind of gratitude. In her book called Grateful, she explores the biblical models for gratitude and realizes there are 2. One is really good, the other is bad, and both are represented in our story today. Let's start with the bad one. There's a biblical form of gratitude that she calls debt and duty, and it goes like this. Caesar is Lord and Savior of the political universe. As Lord, he gifted his grace and favor to whom he wanted. If you were beneath Caesar, which everyone was, and you had enough bread to eat and wine to drink, then this food and drink was a gift from on high. The social structure here is that of a pyramid. Everyone in the social structure receives a gift from the class above them, and then they are bound by duty to say thank you, to be grateful. This form of gratitude is built on scarcity. I don't have enough. So when I receive what I need from on high, it's my duty out of debt to pay back with gratitude. This is a circle of reciprocity that was political and held everyone and everything together, but it's built on scarcity, and this is not God's way. If you don't repay Caesar how Caesar expects to be repaid, you're considered to be an ingrate, which is a crime. You could be taxed or made homeless or thrown into prison. It is criminal to not be gracious to Caesar. Think about that. This is debt and duty gratitude, and it is not the way of God. Debt and duty is hierarchical and is about obligation and exchange. It's why the lepers had to go to the chief priest. It was their duty, their obligation out of Leviticus 14. It was in their laws that they must go and pay a debt back to the priest. They had to pay money to make sacrifices to be ritually clean in order to re-enter society. It was their debt and duty. Jesus offers another kind of way. Gratitude for Jesus is not an exchange. God's grace is free, and it comes out of abundance. Jesus isn't trying to replace Caesar at the top of the pyramid. He's usurping a political system that devalues the poor and the outcast, but not so he can take the place at the top of that pyramid. Jesus is redrafting the rules of engagement. He's eliminating the pyramid altogether. He's saying that God's grace is sufficient for everyone, and it flows from a river of abundance. He knows and knocks down the pyramid and invites us to a river. I've thought about this idea of a river for a long time. It's been permeating in my soul, and I want to share it. When I imagine God's love and our interactions with that love, I imagine a flowing river of grace. This river moves through everything. Actually, it moves mystically under everything. All people, all places are nurtured and connected and grow out of and are sustained by this river of grace. All people and things access it, but you have to do the work to go inward, to go down into your own soul, into your inner world, to draw from this river of life. Everyone can do it, but the ones out of tens know how to do it best. The Susan Dillows of the world know how to do it. It's right underneath all of us, but we have to learn gratitude to draw from it. And that's the spiritual work of life in the church, and perhaps what Luke 17 is teaching us. Like the river, God's grace doesn't run dry. It sustains us and brings us healing, but we have to learn to draw from it. We have to learn to get up and go your own way, because your faith has made you well.